Hey YouTube, back again with a review for the first set of sleeves we're going to be using here today, and that is going to be these tournament competitive sleeves here. Now, these sleeves are the kind of option that I would recommend as best for any first-time player coming into the game of Yu-Gi-Oh, whether you be a first-time player or someone coming over from Master Duel. Now, these sleeves right here are very, very nice. These are a pro matte version of the sleeve. There's usually around 60 of these for a pack as opposed to the 50 from those Konami sleeves, so you'll always have enough for your main and side deck. Now, as you can kind of see here, as I was pointing out prior, you got a little bit of that scuffing on the side there. I wanted to wait on making this video until I had significant time to test and shuffle a deck using these kinds of sleeves. And so now you can kind of see what I'm talking about with the sleeve quality. But what we're going to do right now, guys, is we're going to re-sleeve this deck here. And I'm going to talk about what is the difference between the sleeves here. So we've got, as you put in the card like this, guys, you can see that it is a much tighter fit into the sleeve here. And with a little bit poking over the top here like this, but it fits the card a lot more snugly than the other sleeves do. So what we're going to do is we'll sleeve up this deck here. Now, one of the things about sleeves that you have to keep in mind, guys, is what you're going to be using these sleeves for. Do you want to have sleeves to display your cards in a collection kind of format, or are you looking to play these cards in a tournament setting? Now, if you're looking to display them for collection, the Konami sleeves are perfect because I think that out of all of the sleeves that you can find on the open market, they have some of the best looking image quality when it comes to displaying your cards either in a collection, in a binder, wherever you may feel that you want to display them. But one thing that happens during tournaments, and this is true for any and all sleeves that you have, you're looking for a sleeve that is going to keep your cards in the best possible condition throughout 8 rounds of play. You'll want something more like these pro matte sleeves here, which basically are really, really good at keeping your cards kind of being able to shuffle well and keeping them in good condition throughout the course of a whole day event. Now, this is very, very important for me to note to people, because when you're looking to play a tournament as opposed to keeping your cards, for collection, generally, and with some exceptions, like some people like to keep their higher rarity stuff at home, but you're generally looking for playability when it comes to your cards as opposed to the ability to show them off. And so what you're looking for is something that's going to allow it to play. Now, I'm not as much a fan of these pro matte sleeves when it comes to playing my max rarity decks, as you guys will probably see when I'm re-sleeving some of my other decks. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that, you don't really need to have a super, super good looking deck in order to win a tournament. And in fact, lots of people in the modern era are winning things with decks that are very, very cheap. Like you look at Fluanderies, you look at Trap Trick, and these decks may be very good, but they're not exactly the most expensive or collectible decks on the market. So when you're putting together your deck, understanding what you're going to be using the cards for is very, very important in terms of figuring out how you're going to build the best possible deck for the era. And so for me personally, putting together a Yusei character deck, it's not going to be a deck that I run all that often, but at the same time, putting the deck together for the sole purpose of playing it against someone else is very different than putting a deck together for just showcasing or for showing off. And so what I want to make sure is that I'm using the best tools for the job, and that means running cards that have sleeves that are very good, and that you're not necessarily looking to highlight the cards so much as you are looking to find a way to protect them so that you can play with them. Now, I always like to pick up a lot of the older cards as well, which are really, really good at, you know, working together with some of your newer cards. And, you know, they're not necessarily that competitively viable, but, you know, I do enjoy the idea of being able to have really nice older cards in your deck. And so we have here, you know, a bunch of different cards and already sleeved up here. There might be a little problem with, I guess it's just something from the factory, but you know, I'm going to showcase to you guys how this looks once this deck is shuffled up. And this is a 50 card Yugioh character deck, guys, so you're not going to necessarily be seeing some of the top notch like competitive staples in this deck that are usually 40 cards. But the thing is, you know, if you're building a higher deck, like certain optimal numbers of various cards like allow you to run, like, you know, sometimes 42 or 43 cards in a deck, you want to make sure that that your cards are not going to be too big, or that your sleeves are not going to get too unwieldy for the purpose of what you're going to be doing when you're re-sleeving and putting together sort of all your decks here. So, you know, I'm going to show you a little bit of that shuffle style, what it looks like, how big a 50 card deck looks as opposed to what we had here before, which was the 50 cards in the other deck. And, you know, hopefully this will give you a good idea of what to expect when you're either re-sleeving or sleeving for the first time your deck. So you see how it's, you know, the cards are very easily going in to the sleeves. This is another important thing. It's going to be tough to sleeve a deck that is, you know, when the sleeves are really, really tight. And you want to avoid like kind of forcing your card in there. It just should nicely slide in there, which these sleeves absolutely do. You know, make sure that you're getting it in like that. So there we go. So now this is how the 50 card deck looks as comparison to the other deck that we were running. And we're going to do a little bit of a shuffle. So immediately, guys, as you can see, look at that. So the cards just kind of like fall into the sleeve, just like that. It's a very, very easy shuffle for your original deck like that. And I can push them in the same way like I could not do with the Konami sleeves. And because the cards just kind of like fall in just like that, it's very, very easy for me to shuffle. You know, I can fan them out, I can pile shuffle, do whatever I can to ensure that that is the look. And as you can see here from the front, guys, you know, you still do have the card images. They look very, very good. It's going to have that slightly faded look because this is matte, but I don't really care because this is, you know, a deck that I'm partially using just for fun. And so kind of shuffling this up like that, you can kind of see some people like to fan their stuff out. I don't really do it that much, but you do have the capability to do it with this. And, you know, when you pick out like whatever 5 cards you're using, how it feels, like some people will like shuffle like that in their hand. And so you can see how it flows very, very nicely on the top of the card and feels very nice shuffle feel, as opposed to the Konami sleeves, which kind of just push against each other. So guys, that is going to be our review for these new sleeves and why you should switch your sleeves from your Konami sleeves to these kinds of sleeves. Just is way more helpful for you. So if you guys like this video, please remember to rate, comment, subscribe to the Team Time Riders YouTube channel. And this has been the Mermail Master, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.